Today, lesson 15a, we finish up this idea of the distributive property. Yesterday we did the distributive property day number 1. So today you will be simplifying expressions using the distributive property. We'll be, like yesterday, stating distributive property problems correctly. Yesterday we dealt with this part of the why am I learning this. Today we're dealing with the mental math part of the why am I learning this. So today, once again, we finish up the distributive property. Yesterday, this is exactly what we talked about, mainly the problems where we had variables involved, but I showed you that the distributive property works regardless of whether you can do a problem with order of operations or not, and that basically leads us to the type of problems that we are about to do today. But that bottom part right there, these are the type that we dealt with yesterday. All right. And they were problems like this. And what we talked about was, we would first of all read the problem correctly. 5 times the quantity of x plus 3 is equal to 5x plus 15, coming from the 5 times the x and the 5 times the 3. We did that problem. We also talked about problems where we had the 4 on the right-hand side instead, and what I recommended is that you use the commutative property to quickly rewrite to make that problem look like that problem, because most of you will have less problems when you do that. But regardless, 4 times the quantity of 3x plus 5 is equal to, or simplifies to, 12x plus 20, and then we dealt with ones or problems where we had negative numbers on the outside. In other words, the constant on the outside is negative, and so we have to multiply that, and we have to pay a little more attention when we have a negative on the outside. So that's what we did yesterday. Well, today we're going to deal with this mental math part of the distributive property. So here is number 13. Now, why number 13? Because we did 1 through 12 yesterday. So it is extremely important that you take good notes today. Extremely important. So everything that I write down up here today, you need to make sure you write down in your notes. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to turn this into a distributive property problem, like this. Okay? And what we are going to do is we're going to try and think of how I can replace 102 with either an addition problem or a subtraction problem. Okay? Either one. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to go with an addition problem. So I'm going to turn 102 into 100 plus 2. Do we all agree that 100 plus 2 is 102? Yes. All right. Why did I do that? Well, I did that because it will allow me to find the answer to 2 times 102 in my head, because now I'm going to use the distributive property. 20 times 100, most of us can easily do that in our head, and I know for a fact that you did things like that in the 4th grade. Anybody know what 20 times 100 is? 2,000. It's 2,000. And if you couldn't do 20 times 100 in your head, you should be able to do 20 times 2 in your head. What's 20 times 2? 40. It's 40. So this part that I'm writing in blue right here, we're kind of keeping that in our head. 2,000 plus 40 is what? 2,040. And so what the distributive property does is it allows us to figure out that 20 times 102 is 2,040 in our head. And already, as I'm looking, most of you are copying down everything just like I asked you to do, but 1 or 2 of you have not written down very much. Now let's do the same thing for number 14 in just, let's go ahead and do that. Let's do number 14. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to think of this as a distributive property problem, and I didn't mean to do that. All right, so let's write it down as a distributive property problem. Now, we have 2 choices, and I said this and I mentioned this in the first problem. We can either think of 49 as an addition problem or 49 as a subtraction problem. It does not matter. Anybody have any suggestions on how I could replace 49? Leo. Well, but we want to replace 49 with either an addition problem or a subtraction problem, not a multiplication problem. Yeah.
40 plus 9.
40 plus 9. Okay. But what if instead you wanted to, we're going to do this one two different ways. What if you wanted to replace it with a subtraction problem instead? So I'm going to actually do this problem twice. And I'd like you to write down both of them. What if I wanted to do it as a subtraction problem? Yes?
49 minus 9.
49 minus 9 is now 49. Right? It's 31.
50 minus 1.
50 minus 1. Now, before we even go on here, you have to think in your head which one would be easier to use the distributive property in my head. Because every single one of these, you will have two choices. Right? So let's do both of them. What is 8 times 40?
320.
320. What is 8 times 9?
72.
All right. And 320 plus 72 is
392.
392. Now watch. We'll get the same answer the other way. What is 8 times 50?
450.
Somebody said 450. It's not 450, it's 400. Most of you did say 400. And then what's 8 times 1?
8.
And 400 minus 8 is 392. So when you're doing these, it doesn't matter whether you use addition or subtraction. But here's what you need to do. You need to figure out which way is easier for you. But you have to do it one way or the other. Okay? So the distributive property with problems like this allows us to find multiplication problems where we would normally have to do them the long way. It allows us to do them mentally, or at least to do most of the math mentally. Okay? So, once again, 2040 for the first one, and 392 for the second one. All right, so let's go ahead and everybody quickly try number 15. All right, somebody want to recommend what you did in number 15 here?
Okay, so what I did was I changed it into a distributive property and put 4 in parentheses 100 plus 8.
Okay.
100 times 4 is 400.
Yes?
And then you put the addition sign and
Yep.
4 times 8 is 32.
Now, hold on. Before you even give me the answer, do you admit that you could have, once you set it up like this, that you could have done the rest in your head easily? That's the whole point, right? This times this is 400. This times this is 32. And obviously, 4 times 108, or 4 times the quantity of 108, is 432. Now, this is one where maybe addition is by far the easiest. And sometimes it is. Okay? All right, everybody do number 16. Lizzie, tell us how you broke up 9 times 199.
I did the quantity of 9 times 190 plus 9.
So you did, hold on, let me back up for a second here. You did what? Go ahead.
The quantity of 9 times 190 plus 9.
Let me erase that. 190 plus 9. So that will work because 190 plus 9 is 199. But isn't there an easier way of doing it than that? Because remember, the whole point here is that this allows us to really find the product mentally. And I don't know about you, but I imagine a lot of you don't know what 9 times 190 is mentally. Right? So isn't there an easier way of dealing with this? Yes.
In the parentheses, I put 200 minus.
Yeah, and that's to me the easiest way because I imagine most of us can deal with 9 times 200 mentally, which of course is 1800. And obviously we can deal with 9 times 1 mentally. And from there we get 1791. Okay? So that's the whole point of dealing with these type of problems using the distributive property. It allows us to find the product mentally. All right, so here's what I want you to do right now. Go ahead and quickly do number 17 and number 18. So in number 18, most of us did the same thing, but I liked what I saw in number 17. Some of you, and it seemed like probably about half, did 5 times the quantity of 50 plus 9. So you broke up 59 into 50 plus 9. And about the other half did it with subtraction. So in other words, 5 times the quantity of 60 minus 1. It should not have mattered, though, because both of those are equally easy, in my opinion, to do the math in your head, and both will lead you to what the answer should be, which of course is 295. In number 18, though, I think that it's probably easiest to use addition, because it's very easy to multiply 7 times 300 and then 7 times 2, and that would give us 2100 plus 14, which is 2114. All right, 2 more problems left, and then we're finished for the day. Do number 19 and number 20, please. All right, let's bring it back up here. When I walked around, I saw most of you do 80 times the quantity 40 minus 2. Some of you did 8 times the quantity 30 plus 8. It does not matter. You should still end up with the same product, which is 304. And the majority of you in number 20 used 4 times the quantity of 500 plus 3, so that would be 2,000 plus 12. Don't forget to multiply the 4 by the 3 also, and that would be 2,012.